Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
I'm Andrew Orozco.
And this is Collateral Gaming with
GeekNewsNow.net.
Welcome to Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. And welcome to the show, Andrew. This is your first time guesting, and it's a pleasure to have you, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Ashley. Thanks. It's an honor to be invited on. Thanks you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, so actually, I was contacted through an associate of yours, David.
Mm-hmm.
He contacted me asking, about a spot on the show, and then he said he would reach out to somebody from his crew, and that's how we met. So here we are.
Yeah, there we go. Just networking and all that in this age.
Hey, I'm a fan of it. I mean, with Collateral Gaming, we haven't had too many guests. With Collateral Cinema, we have our movie podcast. But Collateral Gaming, we're just sort of starting to branch out and reach out. And hey, if you're somebody that's listening and you'd love to link up with us, if you're a podcaster, gamer, or whatever else, hit me up. But today we're here to talk about the brand new Fire Emblem Engage. This is going to be a spoiler-free review. And I've actually been highly anticipating this game. Before we get into that, though, Andrew, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your podcast, and anything else you do?
Sure. Yeah. So I volunteer write for GeekNewsNow.net. It's a news media website where we just talk about mostly like Star Wars and Star Trek, but also I do mostly video game writing. I mostly write about video games, a little bit of Marvel, there's DC stuff in there, just general geekdom in general. And then I also have a podcast of my own that's not affiliated with Geek News Now, called DuoSense. It's a play on terms because there's usually two of us and the DualSense controller for PS5. So we every week we talk about the latest in video game news, what we've been playing. We'll do like little fun things there, like 20 questions, like video game version of that. We do a fun thing sometimes where we'll randomly sort through a random number generator, combine a theme with a type of game and pitch it as like some kind of game and stuff. So those are the two main things I do. So there you go.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Actually, that sounds great. Everything you mentioned is something that I'm into. You mentioned Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC. I'm into all of that geek shit. So that sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah. It's a good time. It's fun. It's fun being part of the group. Yeah.
Nice. Alrighty. Well, we're going to go ahead and get into this Fire Emblem game. So let me ask you, Andrew, are you familiar with the Fire Emblem series? Like, have you played any of the previous games, or where are you at with this franchise?
So actually, no, this is the first one I've ever played, which is really funny because I consider myself a huge fan of like strategy RPGs and like tactics games. So like Final Fantasy Tactics, XCOM, Disgaea. I love the Disgaea series. All sorts of, strategy moving units around the map. So I've never played Fire Emblem. I don't know if it was just the setting or something just never grabbed my interest. Like I'm familiar with some of the characters through Smash Brothers, like Marth and Chrom and all of them. But no, this is my first Fire Emblem game where I was like, okay, like I'm ready to jump in now to be like part of like the zeitgeist for once. So,
all right, that's actually really interesting, man. I kind of want to hear like how this comes across as a first Fire Emblem game, and I'm excited to get into it. As for myself, I've actually only recently been introduced into the series. I love the tactical RPG genre. I think it's a lot of fun, but actually, as a result of doing this podcast, I started getting into the Fire Emblem games. I think last season, our season finale, we did the Blazing Blade, which was the 2003 game that came out on the Game Boy Advance. when it came to the States originally, it was just titled Fire Emblem because it was the first one in the West.
Okay.
And kind of fell in love with the series. I started playing that one, and I started playing a whole bunch of other Fire Emblem games, including the last game, which was Three Houses. So I'm definitely going to be drawing a lot on that, comparing this to the previous entry, because the previous entry was really, really good.
Yeah, I know it's like one of the most like highly like rated Switch exclusives. Like I have a few friends here and there who tell me like you gotta play Three Houses, and then they tell me you have to play the game 3 separate times, and I'm just like, oh.
I'll be honest, I've only played through like one route. So technically there are 4 different routes that you can go through. There's 3 factions, but there's another pathway. There's the decision you can make in one of them, but I've only played through one route. So that's all I have to go off of. And I was still blown away by the world, the characters, the story writing. I was really impressed by Three Houses. I liked the Warriors spinoff, Three Hopes, as well. I thought that was a lot of fun. Didn't get too huge into the first Fire Emblem Warriors game, but I liked the Warrior/Muso style as well. And I thought that last one was a good blend of like tactical RPG meets Warriors. Obviously, this isn't one of those types of games, right? This is straight up tactical RPG.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think. Well, let's start off with you. Okay, so what are your overall thoughts on Fire Emblem Engage, just off the bat?
The combat's pretty unforgiving, I think. I'm playing it on casual just because I don't do permadeath like in XCOM or anything. Like if I have to do permadeath, I know I'm just going to be resetting the whole time, and that's just a pain in the ass to have to deal with. So I just play it on casual. I put it on normal, which I think is actually a little too easy at times. At times it's really easy, and then other times it's like difficulty spike out of nowhere. But I enjoy the gameplay. I like the whole like rock paper scissors thing with the axes and the spears and the swords, and like the magic and like arrow or bows and arrows and such. I for the most part enjoy it. I think the story up until chapter 11 is kind of weak, and then once you get to chapter 11, like this is like the interesting act of the story now. So. But I'm so far like I'm along for the ride. Let's just say that.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna echo a lot of what you said. I felt coming into this from Three Houses, which was like a war opera, had a really compelling story with multiple different routes and ambiguous, morally gray decisions, very 3-dimensional characters. The story and the characters from, I think you said like kind of in like the first few chapters are very underwhelming. I do agree with that. And I think that's something that we're hearing a lot, is that the story is pretty underwhelming. We're not going to get into spoilers, so fortunately that means we're mostly going to get to talk about the gameplay anyway, which is the good part.
Yeah.
But I was a little disappointed. I actually just beat chapter 11 today, actually. I was
okay.
Yeah. So I had some time, I got off work a little bit early. And so I was just trying to cram as much as I could.
That's perfect, because we're like right around the same area then.
That's good. Okay, awesome. So yeah, and I actually agree with you. I think the story's kind of actually picking up now, which is good, and I'm really excited. And I've heard that like the later chapters of this game, it actually does kind of come to a head. But right off the bat, there are no different routes to go through. There aren't really any decisions. It's a linear path from beginning to end, or at least from what it is so far and from what I understand. So this is going to be more of your typical Fire Emblem story experience. And I mean, I don't always expect a great story out of a Fire Emblem game. That's not always what you go to Fire Emblem.
That's not what they're known for? Okay.
Well, Fire Emblem's very hit or miss from what I hear, and I've played most of the games, but I've only played all the way through a couple of them, that being the Blazing Blade and Three Houses. But a lot of people, you don't really go to Fire Emblem for story, but then you have games like Three Houses where the story is just so good. So, and then in that aspect, I did feel it was a little underwhelming. I know like there's a very early character death in like the first couple chapters, and I just couldn't bring myself to care about it. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Is it one of the twins?
No. Early like in the first like couple chapters, right?
I'm thinking. I forget his name. Is it the dude with the horse and the lance?
No. I mean like a character that dies in the story.
Oh, yeah, that felt unearned. Yeah, the whole kind
Right.
of
Okay.
am I supposed to be feeling something here? Like we just met this character,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
it was really odd. It was kind of just okay, we're doing way too much grieving for this character that basically just served as like the tutorial.
Yes. Okay, I felt exactly the same way.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like yeah, I don't really give a damn. Let's move on, you know. But and we have a very tropey plot, you know, at least to begin with. We have
Very much so. Very much so. Like it's just JR. It's like a JRPG checklist. Like amnesic main character. I don't want to say too much more, I guess, because of spoilers. But I mean, that's like in the first 5 minutes. I don't really think it's a spoiler, but
no.
it's just the prophesized hero, and then
Wakes up
that's
after
the thing.
1,000 years. What fantasy game recently did that on the Switch? Breath of the
Right.
Wild.
Right. But just the whole I think I messaged you about this. Just like the dialogue is so I don't want to say cringe because I hate that word, but it's very earnest, right? It's very sincere, and it's like asking you to believe in the dialogue, and it's just kind of like this isn't landing or hitting the way it should be. It's like it's a lot of these characters just kind of stumbling over what they're saying, like, oh, like my apologies, Divine Dragon, and it's just like all this hero worship stuff, and it's just very kind of like, oh,
It's every single character simping for the main character.
yeah, and even the main character feels uncomfortable with the amount. Like he even shows kind of his discomfort with a lot of just the adoration. He's kind of just like that's kind of reminds me of Black Panther with we don't do that here. Like it kind of reminds me of that's how I felt. Like it just seems very weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like there's definitely a lot of hero worship going on. I don't know. Kind of feels like an isekai at points.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
But I will say, well, some of the dialogue is a little cringy. I'll give it that. Or I guess the writing of it is. I think the performances are honestly great. Especially, I played as female earlier, and I thought the performance of the main character as a female was actually fantastic.
I chose the male one, but yeah, I think the sound of the game is very clean. It's very clear. It's very crisp. I do enjoy it. The voice acting does come through. It's not half-assed or anything at all. It's very like I said, very earnest. They put so much feel in what they're saying, and it's sometimes they're doing 110%, 10% too much. But yeah, I agree with you. The voice acting is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, and it's basically what you might come to expect out of a dubbed anime. But I think at least the performance wise, maybe even a tier higher than that. Or think of the best dubbed anime, like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, or something of that nature, Death Note, something that's actually done pretty well. And that's kind of what you got here. And actually, I'm really thankful that the protagonist isn't a silent protagonist this time. The protagonist actually has emotions, feelings, That's actually great. And we have these support conversations where characters aren't just talking to themselves.
Yeah. I do like those interactions. I love when I get excited whenever I see oh, we just did a team attack or a chain attack or something where you end next to someone and then you'll see a little notification letting you know they now have a conversation too later on. I'm like, oh cool. Okay, let me see what they're gonna say. Because some of them are fun interactions. I especially the ones that are not with the main character where it's another side character and another party member and they kind of just flesh out a little bit more of the world. But I do find it funny that they give you the option to name your character. And they do that thing where they'll say your title but not your name because they don't, the voice acting doesn't know your name, but it just seems kind of silly to have Divine Dragon and it ends there, but then you see your name in the text and everything. It's just okay, I get it.
Yeah, in Three Houses they got around it by just constantly calling you our teacher and whatnot. So in this game, I guess they kind of get around it by saying the Divine Dragon, but like you said, they a lot of times they'll say the Divine Dragon and then the name. And then,
omit the name. Oh, there's some games that do it pretty well where they at least give you the option of choosing from a list of titles or a list of pre-named maids. So pre-made names. So you at least get something out of it.
Yeah. And you know what? I was kind of expecting that if you picked the default name Alir, they would actually pronounce it, but I watched some playthroughs and they don't.
That's why I left it the same. I thought okay, maybe they'll say the name if oh no, does it matter?
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So I named my character Sakura. It's just kind of a go-to name I use for female characters in video games because my daughter's middle name is Sakura.
Oh, that's cute.
It's actually
Cherry
a Naruto
little
reference.
cherry. Oh, okay.
but yeah, no, it's just kind of a go-to. Either that or I'll go with like Scruffia, which is a variant of my own like nickname, which is Scruffy. And so I kind of alternate with Fire Emblem games. Yeah. It kind of kicked me in the ass though when I played Fire Emblem Heroes. There actually is a character pulled in from one of the games called Sakura. So it kind of kicked me.
That has never happened to me. I've seen like screenshots where people like they do the thing where they choose a name of a character who's already in the game and they get confused or something. That's never happened to me, but I could just imagine like that. Yeah, that could be a little off-putting.
Yeah. But yeah, let's get into the gameplay here. Okay, so yeah. You talked about it a little bit about how you're enjoying the gameplay. As compared to other tactical RPGs that you've played, what do you like that this one does differently?
I guess I like the variety of units. How you have like mounted units, you have your horses, you have like these like Pegasus, like flying creatures. You do have a nice variety of. I like how you can choose which weapon you use when you attack because they have like different properties. That's something I don't think I've ever seen in like RPG where you can like be about to attack and it's like, oh, here's like the 4 or 5 different weapons you can use and like they each have like different like properties you can like switch in and out. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's a staple of Fire Emblem games, actually. I mean, a lot of the same items even appear. I mean, you'll have like your armor slayers and your hammers and whatnot, which are going to be good against certain types of units. You'll have weapons that are good against flying or armored. Kind of give you an edge in battle beyond the weapon triangle, which is nice. I gotta say, what I appreciate about this Fire Emblem game, and what makes this one refreshing over past Fire Emblem games, was the introduction of the Emblem system or the engage system. I actually thought that really made battles a lot more interesting and added a lot more variety. Because you have everything that a modern Fire Emblem or tactical RPG needs, and then you've also got this gimmick in the game that I think actually pays off and works.
Yeah, you're right. I do actually do. It does add another edge because sometimes you're like, should I use it now? Like you're like, should I use the emblem? Should I do the engage thing like right now, or wait till I'm closer to the enemy? Wait till I really need to save it. And like I find that some battles are long enough where I can do it more than once. Like if I do it right from the bat, then like when I really need it, I'll be fine. I'll probably have it regenerated like by then, so I can use it again. I do like the different varieties, like how depending on who you have it matched with, like the special is different. Like I think the one I really like that seems really broken to me is I think the emblem is Cecilia. I don't remember Cecilia or
Celica.
I forget. It begins with a C, but she does this. I think the move's called Warp Ragnarok.
Yep.
Where like if you use it, you can like teleport within a massive distance and attack like in the same like motion, and that thing is like I use it to get past like the doors you have to destroy and like other stuff like that, and it's like it can make battles over like very quickly. At the same time, it's like attached. Like I have it attached with I forgot her name. She's like the sister. She's the blonde unit who's a sister. Yes, there you go. That's right. Sailor. Yeah, and she's kind of like she's like a glass cannon. Like she like dies really quickly if you leave her on her own. So like it's kind of a hit or miss. But like I mean, for the most part, I sometimes I'll use the Sigurd. I think that's right. The Lance unit. He has the like driving thing too, where like when you're done with the move, like you're like a couple spaces away.
Yeah. I think they call it override or something. Where you can go through like 2 units, or like it's really cool. I literally liked that. Yeah, I got to agree. I do really like Celica's emblem moves, and I also paired her with Saline because that's actually the natural pairing. I mean, most of the emblem rings I think they pair with certain characters during the story, and it's like, okay, here's a good character that can use it, and usually they're kind of the same type. Like they pair Sigurd with the other cavalry unit, Alfred. They pair Celica with another unit that can use both sword and magic, which is nice. Although, interestingly enough, they pair the staff character or stave character with the thief in the game, which I thought was interesting.
Oh yeah,
Hiya papaya.
Yunaka. Oh god, yeah, Yunaka. I think, which I actually really like Yunaka. She has like this kind of mischievous, wily like kind of persona about her. Like she's she's like the way you meet her, and again, no spoilers, but the way you meet her and like how you kind of turn like recruit her and everything. I actually like that section, and she's like the quirky kind of out there character. So
Oh, I
like
love her. She may be one of my favorite characters in the game. I love Yunaka. She is awesome, and like I honestly considered I'm kind of stuck between romancing her or romancing Chloe. Chloe, I guess.
Oh, Chloe. Yes, Chloe is my go-to. No matter the skirmish, I always have Chloe. Like she's just so versatile with like every single like situation, like the throwing the lance and like going over like ground, like being able to go where other units can't go. Like and I don't know if maybe it's just the way I have her set her up, but like it is really hard for enemies to land hits on her. Like she just dodges everything. And I'm just like, I don't know what the setup is or something, but she just like they cannot land a hit on her for some reason.
It's kind of a trend with Pegasus Knights in Fire Emblem or Flyers is that they tend to have a high avoid stat, so they can quickly dodge. And that's kind of their go-to, and it helps because they're weak against arrows. So, you really want to, have that nice avoid mechanic. Also, the main character Alir also has a high avoid, which is common with Fire Emblem protagonists, I would say. I really enjoyed the emblem mechanic. I enjoyed being able to engage with the previous Lords of Fire Emblem games, because if you're not aware, every emblem in the game is a main protagonist of a previous
I recognize a lot of them from Smash. That's how I remember, like Roy,
Marth,
yeah,
Lucina. They're all characters, and so I've played most of them, but it's kind of giving me an opportunity to get acquainted with other characters. I think it's really funny that Nintendo's releasing this game with characters from Fire Emblem games that aren't even available in the West, and they won't make them available. So it's like, hey, do you want to? Here's this character Sigurd from this Fire Emblem game. Oh, well, can I play the actual game? No. Can I pirate it? No, you're not allowed to. Come on.
Every time I think of this conversation, I think of how I had to download the English patched ROM for Earthbound. Mother 3 basically.
Mother 3, yeah.
Yeah, like I have it on my little emulator, and I just think of like, I mean, we even have Reggie Fils-Aimé like directly reference Mother 3 like a couple of times, and it's just like oh, now you're just teasing us, man. Like just put it out. Just put it out. Put it on virtual console, if anything.
Please. Yeah, no, especially Reggie of all people saying that. That's kind of a dick punch, man. I agree. But I think that we're going to get a Fire Emblem 4/5 remake pretty soon. In fact, what I would do is I'd package them together, because the way that Fire Emblem 4 works, Genealogy of the Holy War, is that it's divided into two parts. I've never played it, but from what I understand, it's divided. And so there's a first generation, and then there's a second generation that are all children. And based on which characters you pair together, the children inherit like different characteristics.
Okay, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it sounds actually really cool. I'd love to check it out.
Wasn't there like a Fire Emblem game that came out like a while back? It's like a 2D one, but it was like one that was Japan only before. It was like Dark something.
I know. Let's see. Yeah, Shadow Dragon. That was the very first Fire Emblem game. Yeah, and there you go. They remade it on the DS. I've played a little bit of that one. But the thing with Fire Emblem 4 and 5, which is cool, is that 5 actually takes place between both generations and 4. So I feel like if they're going to remake those two, they should just go ahead and remake them together and throw them into one game.
Okay.
And
they've done that with like I'm trying to think. They did that with. Are they going to do that soon? Not Nintendo, but they're doing that with Suikoden 1 and 2, where they're remaking those together or remastering both of those together. They're doing that with Advance Wars 1 and 2. If that ever does come out, who knows? But like the pairing thing, that
I feel like that would be natural, because and Fire Emblem 4 and 5 are next, because you mentioned before, we got Shadow Dragon, which is a remake of Fire Emblem 1. We got Echoes Shadows of Valentia, which is a remake of Fire Emblem 2, Fire Emblem Gaiden. And I actually really like that one. That one's on the 3DS, and it's a lot of fun. And then there was a remake of Fire Emblem 3, but it's Japan exclusive. So both the original game and the remake are Japan exclusive. So thanks Nintendo and Intelligent Systems for that. But yeah, I really hope that we get a Fire Emblem 4 and 5, and I hope we get a 6 and 7 soon remake, because I really like 7. 7's a lot of fun.
Where exactly does Engage fall? Are they related at all or no?
No. So every Fire Emblem game actually kind of takes place in its own separate universe.
It's like Final Fantasy then.
Yeah, it's just like Final Fantasy. Some of them are direct sequels, right? Fire Emblem 4 and 5 are, 6 and 7 are, right? That's why those ones work together. I believe, 1 and 3 and Awakening actually all take place in the same universe. And apparently they all take place within like the same multiverse, and they reference each other because we see that here in Engage.
Yeah.
And the mobile game Fire Emblem Heroes does the same thing. So, but yeah, for the most part, they're completely disconnected. It's the same. It's the same as Final Fantasy. That's a great example. Is that like they're all separate.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, Engage. I think I'm actually really impressed by just the gameplay. I think the gameplay is really solid. It's everything that you would come to expect from a Fire Emblem, like a modern Fire Emblem game. It feels smooth and fluid. The Engage mechanic keeps things fresh. And, and I'm enjoying just kind of pairing all these characters together and seeing what their support conversations were, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. It's very smooth. The game runs incredibly well on the Switch, which is a nice, it's refreshing considering the whole Violet and Scarlet debacle about a month ago, where it's like, oh, the Switch, outdated hardware, and it's like, no, those games are just poorly optimized, because clearly here, it runs buttery smooth. And I like because I've seen older Fire Emblem games where you move a unit, you attack, and then it has to transition to a separate screen, and then the attack plays out, then you transition back. Here it's all done quickly. It zooms in, you do the attack, zoom back out, and we're off to the next movement kind of thing.
No, even the battle, it's really smooth. I really enjoy that. I even like the way that they kind of may have the characters move about the map. In previous Fire Emblem games, you kind of just kind of selected each the square that you want the character to move, and then they move. Here you actually kind of directly control the character on the grid, and it looks really nice.
Oh, wait, are you talking about after the battle's done and you're free to explore the area, the town or whatever? Or
no, not just that, but I mean whenever you're actually moving your character between each square, they actually move in real time, right? And then you can
it's not stiff
it's not
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, not just select the square and then the character moves like in previous games. I think you can toggle that setting, so you can have it work like previous games, or you can kind of have that move in real time, which is cool. Three Houses had a thing where you could actually zoom all the way in, and the characters actually could move around with their entire battalions in real time, which was cool. But I agree with you. I think that the moving in and out of combat is really fast and fluid, and you can even skip it, but you really don't need to, because the combat's just so much fun. And as usual, watching these crit animations whenever you get a crit is really nice.
I love whenever you have an axe unit. I think it's the old dude with the white hair, Vander, I think, or it does a thing where he drags the axe along the ground to kind of charge it up. That's one of my favorite things. They do when you see that when you see this axe swing down to the ground, oh, we're about to get a crit right now. Yes,
the crits look so cool. I could watch Fire Emblem crit compilations all day, and there was something really special about the 2D entries, the GBA Fire Emblem games with the crits, that felt for a while was kind of lost with the 3D games, and then they actually kind of brought it back, and it's really nice. It does feel a little corny how every single time the character feels like they need to say their little one-liner, but you just kind of come to expect it.
Sometimes it's a little annoying, but I think it's better than silence sometimes. So
and you're kind of getting
what it is.
A handle of each character's personality. And again, I don't think the characters are terribly well fleshed out. A lot of them are very one note, okay, this is their characteristic. That's what they are. They embody or personify this particular trait. But I think it's still a lot of fun, kind of just having them all together. And I like that this game kind of went for that more charming, lighter, anime-esque feel,
I do. I like just to touch upon it real quick, because their interactions I noticed come up later on, is for example, there's an interaction between Alfred and one of his assistants, the really buff guy with the small head for some reason. He's a really buff guy.
I think his name's
I forget his name, but he's
or something.
He's the axe unit, yeah. And there's a little interaction where Alfred's kind of just groping him, he's jealous of how strong. Kind of one of those like Thor MCU moments where he's just in awe of this unit, absolute awe, right? And then when the next time using I forget his name, the axe guy, like he levels up and he makes a comment about like, oh, I'm sorry, Alfred, like, oh, like he's like, I'm getting stronger, like, oh, I'm sorry, Alfred, because he's like leaving him behind physically. So I thought that's kind of like a little funny, like a little like nod to like the conversation they had earlier where he apologizes for getting stronger, for like being stronger than Alfred. So I think there's like little moments here and there, like when they level up, or like if they're knocked out of the match, they'll like a little quip before they leave or something.
Yes.
And I kind of, it's not like the most original thing, but I think it does kind of help separate them from each other a little bit more.
Yes, I agree.
Please, I beg of you, gather together all 12 rings. When your scattered memories return to you, you must fight on with the utmost divinity. I believe in you, my child.
I understand. I'll collect the rings. I swear to you. And I'll fight. I'll do whatever you want. Help me. Lend me your strength in this fight.
I am known as Marth, Emblem Marth. To be clear, it is good to see you. I was able to answer your call because you remembered me.
But then, a dark presence emerged. Sombron.
Marth. What was I like? Well, you were kind, as you are now. There's no need to remember everything at once. Divine One, will you help us? Please, come with me to Firene.
An alliance with Brodia took some doing. Their king's an ambitious man.
Brodia, the Kingdom of Might.
I greet you as the Crown Prince of Brodia.
Solm is an open-minded country. They've always had good relations with Firene.
I hope you're hungry for fun, because that's what's on the menu first!
Lucky me man, huh?
I take it Elusia isn't in the Alliance.
We know it's snowy there, with long winters, and that some Elusians worship the Fell Dragon.
Come a little closer. I'll give you a good long look.
I will now take your lives, your souls, and the rings.
He is not yet at full strength.
My kingdom has another emblem ring in its possession.
Well, isn't this tragic? By virtue of your silence, we will now kill every living soul in this castle one by one.
I detest violence, but I will always fight to defend the innocent. I'm just passing through. Well, looking for someone, really.
Still, despite everything we're facing, I'm calm. I think it's because you're here, Marth.
We are not going anywhere. We will remain by your side until the end of this journey.
You silly divine dragon. Did you think emblems were just a you thing? Not by a long shot.
Marth? Marth, speak to me, please!
Everyone you care about, they are all dead.
I also like the decision in fitting with the lighter tone of this game to make more vibrant colors. It's really actually kind of a contrast to Three Houses once again, because that game kind of had a little bit of a darker feel, and the characters didn't have as much of a soft edge.
They have don't they have colored factions, right? Like I'm thinking of the cover of the game. It has red, blue, and yellow prominently.
Yeah. I mean there are colors in there, but yeah, just overall the game wasn't nearly as vibrant as this time. In fact, looking up about this, evidently they actually wanted to go with a design style that appealed to a younger audience, or a broader audience, which included younger players, and so they actually had some difficulty implementing that into the game. Let's see, illustrator
Just
that
like-
they use. Go ahead.
Just full disclosure, I do not like Alir's hair and eye combination. I really do not like it. It reminds me of a mix icy. If you're had a mix icy with like it has like the red and the blue straw, like blue raspberry, red, whatever, cherry. Like it reminds me of the icy colors, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't. Someone told me there is like a story reason, or it's like it's a very like intention choice, but it just looks so jarring and like someone told me because it has to do with like the Joy Cons, like the Switch, the red blue Joy Cons or something like that. But I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true if there's a story reason, but it just looks like they took like the anime factor to an 11. Like just don't make it make sense. Just whatever color.
All right, yeah. Let's address that because I agree. The main character's character design is atrocious. I like the other characters just fine, but the main character is the red, the blue, the heterochromia. They look literally like a fan fiction character. They look like an OC, right?
Yeah.
They look like somebody's
characters,
OC. That's exactly what they look like. It's bad. I don't know what they were going for. I know a lot of people weren't filled with confidence about this game whenever that was revealed.
And I read that the original color choice actually was going to be black and white, with like black hair, white hair, and a black eye and a white eye. I think the red and blue, at least for the eyes, I think was a better choice here because I think a black and a white eye would just look odd. Yeah. But I think I don't know. It just feels like, look at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very, very vibrant. Sometimes uncomfortably so when it comes to the main character. But I think when it comes to like the rest of the game, I'm actually kind of enjoying the difference, kind of the juxtaposition, especially with the last game, with this more vibrant popping style. And evidently, they decided to go with an illustrator in Japan named Mika Picasso, who worked on various genres of artwork, including character design, logo, and merchandise design for apparel brands, cover art for novels, and CD album colors. But evidently, they actually had difficulty and almost decided to go with 2D art for dialogues because they were having a really difficult time implementing that in the game.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, like everything looks pretty smooth in terms of. I wonder if it was just like a man hours situation, or because everything looks smooth. I mean, outside of the garish colors, like it looks phenomenal. I'm surprised actually that the Switch can do like such vibrant colors this way, or like even just the whole. I don't know if it's the engine or whatever it is. It's just an ideal optimized experience.
Yeah, no, it actually works. It works really well. Again, like you said, I think this is one of the titles that kind of shows off the Switch's power and runs really, really well. I mean, the loading screens are a little long sometimes, especially whenever you're like in the Somnial and you're like moving to the arena room or you're moving to the ring room and you're like, ugh. And
Really, I feel like those like the switching back and forth that actually feels kind of fast. It's like never more than 2 seconds, I think, or at least for me.
Maybe I'm just impatient because like most of the game is like really, really fast, but then there's like a couple loading scenes and it's like, if you're like me, you feel like you have to go back to the Somnial between every single battle, and it starts to become
I do.
kind of okay. It becomes
so I can use the arena. So I can use the arena every single time. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so there's something that really annoys me. I don't know if you're going to get to this, but if you don't, apparently the game treats it so if you don't use certain units after a while, they just drastically fall behind the rest of your crew. And even if you do skirmishes, for some reason those skirmishes are at a higher level than like what the story levels are sometimes. So if you have like I haven't used the twins from the beginning of the game since like chapter 3 because they just dropped off in terms of like level and everything, and like they cannot hang anymore. So it's like usually what it is, it's like the same units that I use are the only viable option for skirmishes. So, and even using the arena, because that's what I try to bring up the weaker units, because you're only limited to 3 attempts in between missions. And like they usually fail because they pit them against other higher level than units. And I'm like, I don't know if past Fire Emblem games let you kind of grind or not, but here, like if you try to grind, it almost seems punishing because you'll clear a skirmish and then the next skirmish pops up is an even higher level. And so I'm just kind of like I'm sorry guys, like if I didn't use you, like you just fell behind everybody else, and like that's kind of it.
It's kind of a thing with Fire Emblem games is you are going to have your units that are going to kind of drop off and stop being useful. I like you. I stopped using the twins. I stopped using Vander as well because not because he's a bad unit, but because he's an XP sponge. he's not viable. He's a pre-promote. And in Fire Emblem games, pre-promotes are great in the beginning of the game when you need a character to kind of carry the team, or what they're really good for is weakening an enemy so a weaker character can just kind of finish him off and gain all that experience. But you don't want to let him finish off any enemies because they don't get really great growths, and they're already
I was annoyed that it took forever to level him up. I think I leveled him up once and I was like, why is it taking so long to level him up?
Yeah, and like pre-promotes are done that way on purpose. Your characters that start off as base units that you promote into stronger units end up being stronger characters in the end because of their stat growths. But pre-promotes by design, and that's a common Fire Emblem thing. They don't have really great stat growth. They're kind of just there to help carry your team in the early game, and then later on, you naturally promote your units into like bosses, and you can kind of program your units the way that you want them to go. This game is
like the Master Seals things, right?
Yeah, Master Seals. Yeah. This game is a little bit less flexible than Three Houses was. With Three Houses, basically any character could be any class. Granted, they had the
weapon proficiency.
The weapon proficiency. And then this game's kind of the same way, but there are some more limitations. So it's kind of like a mix between traditional Fire Emblem games and some of the more modern games that kind of lets you go wherever. And yeah, you can reclass into any unit, again, given you have the right weapon proficiencies, but you got to work for it a little bit more. And I actually kind of appreciated that. Part of me wasn't sure whether to wait until level 20 to promote characters like in like your older style Fire Emblem games, or to just promote them right away like you would in modern games. Well, I looked it up, and the answer is that you actually can promote them as early as possible, because
that's what I've done so far. Like when it gives me the Aster Seal, I'm like, okay, who can I use this on like right away?
yeah, you should do it as soon as you can at level 10, because you don't have to worry about losing stat growths. There's a mechanic in this game where if a character reaches level 20, they can basically reclass and even into the same class using a second seal. So you can actually, and their stats carry over. So you don't have to worry about stats dropping off. So there's no reason to wait to promote your characters, which is nice. In older Fire Emblem games, the trick was that you had to wait. And sometimes there was kind of a balancing act. It was kind of like, well, maybe I don't have to wait until level 20, the max. Maybe let me just like promote this character at 15. Or some people just promote whenever the game gets too hard. And that was their rule of thumb, is like, if I'm having too much of a time, then I'll go ahead and promote my character. But you had to wait. In this game, you don't have to. And I started off doing that way because I thought that they were kind of going back to that. But I was glad to hear that no, there's no limit. You can continue to reclass a character over and over and over again once they reach level 20. So
that's cool. That kind of reminds me of like in the Disgaea games, you can do something similar where like your character reaches like a certain level and you can like reincarnate, which is like start back at level 1. But the next time you get to like level 100 or whatever, you'll be stronger than you were at the previous level 100. So it's like you're encouraged to like reincarnate to actually get to like your maximum like ability. So it sounds kind of like that.
That sounds really cool. Yeah. No, it is kind of like that. Like you can just keep going. Of course, I haven't reached that level with any character where I actually have to reclass them, but using the second seal. But I'm glad to know that you can. And what's cool is that not all of the personal skills come from leveling up or promoting anyway. I mean, a lot of the skills come just from using emblems. And I thought inheriting skills from emblems. I thought that was really cool. In fact, you don't even actually have to fight with them. I mean, it does encourage you to experiment and pair emblems, because any character can be paired with any emblem ring, right? And it does give you, like, you can kind of mix and match, and you can experiment, but you also don't have to. You can also just go into the arena and
do
just
the emblem.
Yeah.
Level 1 to 5, like in one instance.
Yeah, just spend your bond points and just kind of... And it's nice because you can give your characters useful skills that will work. Hey, I want this character to dodge more attacks, or, like you can kind of like just give these skills to characters and kind of build them the way that you want to. That's also the key, from what I hear, to changing character classes into completely different classes that they aren't even necessarily on the path for, but you can gain weapon proficiencies through your bonds with the emblems, and that enables you to I thought that
for
was
some
really
of them
cool.
I think it's like the level 3 like ability is like the weapon proficiency. I think for some of them that's what it is.
I think you're right. I really enjoyed that. Another new thing with this game was the unit types. In previous games, I mean, we had armored units, we had flying units, we had cavalry units. That was a thing. But now every single character has a type and has an additional ability in battle. Like you have those backup units which do those chain attacks. That's new. That wasn't in previous games. You have like the chi characters that can use like the chain guard and take attacks for enemies. Yeah. I thought that was really, really cool.
What do you think about? Do you do any of the training? I like the little mini games, the little training mini games you do, like the little exercise where it's like the little DDR-esque kind of like arrow thing, but also just like mashing the button to like do like the weights, whatever, kind of like in GTA where like you gotta, like you need to get stronger, or whatever. Like the little, and then you like, I mean, they give you kind of insignificant boosts unless you do like the really, really hard one. But I do like it because it kind of just breaks up the monotony a little bit for me.
Yeah, and it was another part of like my like go-to list, like my checklist. Every time I went back to the Somniel was like, all right, let me get that little stat boost. I enjoyed those little mini games. I think that the squats one was really easy, and I went to the squats first. I think because of Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah.
It just made me think of it. The squats one was really easy. It was kind of like more like it's like DDR.
That gave me the flashbacks of trying to do the pull ups with Tifa. I think it was Tifa trying to do like the pull ups or whatever.
Oh yeah. I think in remake, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. I forgot there is squats in the original Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I thought that was cool. The sit ups honestly gave me carpal tunnel, just mashing that button so many times. My thumb hurt afterward. The push ups were actually the hardest for me, but they're all pretty easy. At least in like the normal difficulty, which is the only one that I played it on. They have a fishing minigame too, and then they have a wyvern riding minigame too.
I haven't tried the wyvern one. I saw the fishing one, but I don't think I tried that one yet either.
Yeah, it's not all that exciting, but it's there. So it's like,
I feel like the fishing minigame in any JRPG is again like another checklist thing. Where like we're gonna throw it in there because people expect it to be in there. Like there has to be a fishing minigame,
right? Does anybody really like these? Apparently, because they keep doing them. The wyvern riding one was pretty cool. I did that like one time. I think you unlock it after chapter 11, and that was pretty fun.
Oh, okay, that explains why I haven't seen. I heard. I think that someone else mentioned it. I'm like I haven't seen that, but I saw the fishing one. I think.
Yeah, the fishing. So yeah, and you just like every time I go back to the Somniel, I just kind of have like a checklist. I'm like, okay, got to do a meal, gotta gotta talk to people, gotta do my arena fights, gotta do all my mini games. If I have any bond points, spend them either through the arena or inheriting skills. I just gotta have this like whole thing, and it's like so every single battle you go back and you do this whole thing, and sometimes it felt a little bit monotonous, but I still felt like I had to do it. But
break down any excess weapons you have.
Yeah, exactly. So go check out shop, see if there's any new items. Buy every master seal because you only get like a certain number per chapter that you can buy in stock. But I think towards the end of the game, I heard that they actually give you kind of a limitless supply, so you can promote all your characters. Yeah, but yeah, I actually. And I think it kind of helps, kind of flesh out the game. And I did like the whole, like, being able to explore each battle afterwards. And talk to each of the characters. I thought that was really cool because the maps in this game are actually really good.
Yeah, you can tell, like, when you're in, like, when you're in the middle of the battle and, like, you'll see, like, the layout of the map. And it's like, this looks like, it doesn't look like generic. It looks like you have your little vineyard side over here, then you have a couple like little huts, and then you have a little gated area, and then like when you are actually like on the ground, like after the fight or whatever, you can go around and like find items, and like I mean for the most part it's kind of just like extra kind of tacked on, just like talk and then find items and then leave when you want to, but like it's better than nothing. I think it's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. I will say I think Three Houses did the whole like in between battles thing a little bit better because there was kind of this calendar and you could choose, okay, now I want to explore the hub this week. Now, okay, I'm not going to do that. Now I'm just going to go on extra skirmishes this week. Now I'm going to go and do that
sounds like Persona kind of.
Yeah. And now I'm just going to do extra lessons and kind of give my characters some extra experience or proficiencies in different areas. There was just kind of this choice system, but it limited it you somewhat because you couldn't do skirmishes whenever you want to. And Engage you can. And I think the maps are better than Three Houses too. And
I mean, I haven't played Three Houses, so I can't comment. But
yeah,
I mean, when you first started talking earlier about how like the characters and the story are better, I'm like, okay, like that immediately is like, oh, maybe I should be playing that game instead. Just because
I recommend.
From what I understand, there's like more like political like ramifications and stuff going on in that game, right?
Yeah, it's very political. In fact, it's kind of hard to follow at times. This game is it is a refreshing change of pace in that you can kind of just veg out and be like, okay, like I get the story. And like you said, I think like midway through the game, it does pick up quite a bit and become a little bit better. There was the king character, right? The I forget his name, but the father of the
Yeah, it starts with like D or something with a D or something. Yeah, I can't remember.
Diamond and Alchrist, I think were the
Alchrist,
sons' names. I can't remember the name of the dad. I really liked him, actually. He was a character that I really enjoyed, but I was like, I don't think he's going to last very long.
I thought he was going to be more kind of like intimidating or like angry. Like the way they play up like that kingdom, Brodia, right? Brodia, I think it is, or Brodia,
yeah,
one
Brodia,
of those.
One of the, yeah.
Brodia, which sounds kind of funny when I think about it. But like the way they play it up, like, oh, like he's going to be like a real bastard. And you meet him, he's like, no, like this guy is just, he just really likes fighting. That's his thing.
He's so wholesome. Like you can tell he loves his sons, but like I could just tell right away that he's not gonna last long. And that was just my guess. I'm not gonna tell you, our audience whether or not that happens or what comes to play. I called it. That's all I'm gonna say. Actually, the other character that we mentioned earlier, the early character death, I actually was very suspicious. I thought that there was something else going on. So I think that's part of why like I wasn't as affected by the death, because I just kept waiting for like a twist.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that kind of, well, like the heel turn kind of thing. I felt like I kind of saw coming just because of the nature of like these kind of games where it's like doesn't matter if you did something for me. Like I'm just gonna do what I have to do on my ruthless road to like ambition or whatever. So like when we had that moment happen, I was like, yeah, it makes sense, I think.
Yeah. All right. Anything else that you wanted to bring up, or anything else that comes to mind about this game, or do you want to get into our final thoughts?
At times, some of the units are just like way too weak, and that's like I'll have moments where I'm attacking a unit, I'll miss, and then they'll just counterattack, and even if I'm at full HP, it'll be like a one-hit kill, and I'm just like, how did I die from that one attack? Like I get something like the rock paper scissors thing, but like sometimes there's units where I'll put them on the edge of like the area, and then like 3 units will come in and just body them complete like in one turn, and I'm at full health and I die like at the end. I'm like, oh man, like that. Like I don't know how people can play this game on classic where like you just have units dropping, because I'll go into like a battle and easily lose like 3+ units by the end of the match.
Okay, so yeah, actually my hot take on that, here's the whole thing, is that I feel like Fire Emblem is meant to be played in classic, and I cannot play casual. And I think it's because like the first Fire Emblem game I played was one that didn't even have like a rewind mechanic. You just had to restart the battle. But you can also, because you're emulating it, you can just use save states. So like there's ways around it. And this game, like to its credit, and like the past few Fire Emblem games, does have the rewind mechanic. And I think on normal, there's not even a limit on how many times you can rewind.
I don't think someone else told me that I've only used it probably once or twice per match when I've had to, but someone else said on normal there is no limit.
So for me personally, I feel like permadeath is a part of Fire Emblem. I feel like you are supposed to play it that way. But that being said, you could just use the rewind mechanic and go back and prevent them from dying and just kind of redo it. And in fact, because there's so many like, liberal uses of the of that rewind mechanic, I would use it just to like position my team better. I'd be like, oh, I should have left that character with a hand axe or a javelin so that they could counterattack against a ranged attack. So like I would just rewind just to put him in a better position. But
so on classic, can you like if you lose a unit, do you just get replaced with a generic unit, or can you like lock yourself out of completing the game because you lost so many units?
Oh no, the unit's gone. Yeah, they're gone and they don't get replaced. You're not really locking yourself out, because I mean you can play through the game without a certain type of unit. The only one
I'm saying, is it possible to lose everybody then?
I guess so. I've never done it. I've always reset. I've never let myself lose a unit in a Fire Emblem game. Okay. So that's my thing, is like I never let a unit die. Even if they're not a unit that I feel like I'll use, I just never let them die. That's like my thing. It's like I cannot let a single unit die, because like I think part of the experience is that they're a precious commodity, right? You'll never receive a unit like them. You'll never receive that particular unit with their same stat growths, with their same strengths and weaknesses, and also the element of the story. in some games, they actually have some characters that can't die. Like I know Blazing Blade is a prequel to Binding Blade. So like characters that are able to die, characters that are in
the future,
yeah, can't die or are children of, but like they just
created a time paradox.
They permanently retire the unit so that you can't use them anymore, which still is going to hurt you. But yeah, I feel like for me personally, that's like part of the experience. But again, you can kind of cheaply get around it. So in today's day and age, I mean, especially if it's your first Fire Emblem game, I think that's why the classic is there. It's just to kind of ease players into it. But yeah, I think that's really all I have to say without getting into spoiler territory. Anyway,
I've just gotten in the habit of like where I can move a unit. Like if I'm not sure if they can survive like a hit the next turn, I'll just put them like one before where they would be if like for the enemy to reach them.
Yeah.
So like it shows you like the area, like what they have, and I'll just put them like just one tile away from that just in case.
Well, yeah, and the game actually gives you a lot of information in advance. Like previous Fire Emblem games, like the original ones, weren't nearly so liberal with the amount of information they give you on the battle screen. You can have everything. You know exactly how this battle is going to turn out. They'll tell you which units can attack. Not only can you toggle on to see the enemy areas, but they'll even have those little lines showing you which enemies can attack this character if you move it to that spot. And they'll show you like exactly what will happen, like how many turns, disregarding of course misses and crits and things like that.
I do like that because not a lot of strategy RPGs do that, but I do like how it tells you like how much damage you will do ahead of time. So you can be like, should I use this powerful move or like, let me see if I can use a weaker, so I don't have to like waste my resource. Can I use like a weaker move? And like, oh, I'll still kill him. Okay, I'll use the weaker one or something.
Yeah, and if you use the weaker one, those are nice because the weapons that are weaker have a higher avoid stat, or they may have a higher hit stat, so they have a higher chance of hitting. So it's just kind of like picking the right weapon for the scenario. They dropped weapon durability in this game, and honestly, like I thought, like if you had told me weapon durability was dropped, I would have thought I would have hated it. But honestly, I feel like this game manages its other mechanics well enough that not having weapon durability is just fine. And to be fair, Echoes didn't have the weapon durability in it. Three Houses didn't have the weapon triangle, another thing that I feel like is a staple of Fire Emblem games. This game brought it back, so...
I didn't know weapon durability was a thing. That I just think of like Breath of the Wild and how much people hate weapon durability in that.
I will defend that actually, because Breath of the Wild offers you so many fucking weapons that like weapon durability is never an issue. Like
I get it. It's to encourage you to try new other. Yeah, I know why it's there. I don't know. I don't like because I played some other games that have weapon durability, and it's just like usually it's just management isn't my strongest trait when it comes to like video games. Like I love RPGs. I love managing units and stuff like that, but managing like inventory and stuff like that, like Resident Evil style or whatever, like it's just like that's like my least favorite thing in games.
I definitely feel like the stress there. I mean, I fucked up my Fire Emblem Blazing Blade file, and I ended up having to start over the whole game because it was my first Fire Emblem game, and I just completely mismanaged my resources. I didn't utilize my units well enough to level up the right ones, and like I had actually like already broken legendary weapons, not knowing that like those legendary weapons had particular strengths, or that like I would need to conserve them for the whole game. So it's like, oh yeah, here's a weapon that your character has that's like special and only they can wield it, but it's fucking broken.
Oh man. But are you like one of those players that like go finish the game and have like all these items you never use because you're waiting to use them, kind of thing?
It depends. It depends on the game, honestly. But
okay.
in that time, I didn't. I just used them. So in this game, there is no weapon durability. That they did bring the weapon triangle back, which was nice. And like I said, I don't think the loss of weapon durability is actually a bad deal. I think that it still encourages you to use different types of weapons based on what's going to work best for the situation. Yeah. And again, the weapon triangle actually kind of is nice in this game. Three Houses kind of had a weapon triangle, but only if you unlocked that skill. In this game, they brought it back, and they actually brought it back differently. In previous games, you would just kind of get a stat boost. Like your character would be able to avoid attacks better. They'd get a slightly better strength. This game actually has that whole like breaking mechanic where enemies
can't like counter.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. And it also, it kind of sometimes that pre-battle screen can be a little misleading because it'll tell you that it'll break, but it'll show that the enemy can counterattack, and it'll show like this is how much health you serve to lose, but you're not going to lose it because the enemy can't counter. So you do have to think a little bit.
Yeah, there's moments like where it'll show you like what the damage will be, and I'm thinking like, oh, that's a lot of damage, and I'll go into the interaction. And I'm like, oh, it's contingent on me getting countered and then countering the counter. That's how I get the full damage. And I'm like, oh, okay, that was a little misleading, but like, yeah, I got the damage. I got like the full damage in.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think Fire Emblem Engage has been a lot of fun so far. I'm looking forward to finishing the game whenever I have time. Any final thoughts for you, Andrew?
Yeah, I want to finish it. I mean, now that the story is kind of doing something different, I'm intrigued to kind of get to the end. And then like the game, the game starts off with one of those like weird like flash forward kind of things where I'm like I want to know how we get to that spot. How do we get to that point? Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about too. Like where like certain characters are on your side, and you're just like, wait, I haven't met that character yet. Like we see like the kind of like the beginning is the end or the end is the beginning kind of thing, whatever. So I'm like, okay, I want to see how we get to that point. So I'm, excuse the pun, I'm engaged with the game. So I want to see it to the end.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'm really impressed by it. Like I said, like we mentioned earlier, I think the game does feel very well polished. It's very it runs very well on the Switch. Aside from a couple areas, I don't think the loading is very bad. I think I like that you can skirmish as much as you like, although the game does have other ways of discouraging grinding, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
but I kind of think it's a good balance, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to finishing it if I have time to. I mean, I have a bunch of other games to do on the podcast, and there's always something. We're actually behind. We were supposed to do It Takes Two this month, and we haven't done either of
Game
that.
of the Year winner 2021. It Takes Two.
Yeah. I started playing like the first couple levels, but I haven't actually beat it yet. But yeah, that's supposed to come out. We're supposed to have both parts out this month, and now I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna work because sometimes it's just hard to coordinate things with my co-hosts. So
yeah, I'm juggling a lot of games right now too, and I'm just kind of like what, like right because of we talked about how like we'll do this like recording like a week after, so I'm like okay, I'm just gonna focus on Fire Emblem, and then I got like distracted by some other stuff. I'm like, oh, like I need to get back to Fire Emblem, so I'm like, okay, like I don't know how many chapters are in the game, but like I feel like I'm probably halfway. I'm like at chapter 11, like 11, 12-ish. So I'm like, hopefully Ashley's around the same place. And then we said, oh, I'm just past chapter. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think I remember telling you, I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I beat this game before we do it. No, life got too busy for me to do that. But the game does run pretty fast. Like you can get through like a lot of it and kind of just keep going. And yeah, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. But thanks for being on, Andrew. Where can our listeners find you?
You can find us on all major podcast platforms. Again, that is DuoSense, DuoSense. Yeah, we put out an episode pretty much every week at this point, so you can find us on there.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's been a blast talking with you. I'm glad I had somebody to do this episode with. It would have been solo if I didn't have you.
How would that have worked? I never done like a solo podcast. Like, do you just like talk to yourself or just out loud? Or...
I've had to do it a couple times, and it's difficult. It's difficult to just keep going, but it can be done. It's just not preferred. But yeah, you're welcome on anytime. I think that we had a good flow, good conversation.
Thank you. I was like, man, I hope I have enough to talk about. I'm like, I haven't finished the game. Hopefully what I have can carry me through. And I think for the most part it did.
Yeah.
So thanks again. Thanks for having me on, Ashley.
No problem. Yeah. And that's kind of the idea with these game launch episodes, we're just kind of like spoiler free, talk about what we can. But yeah, and guys, again, stay tuned for our It Takes Two episode. I should have that out whenever it gets done. And then next month in February, what we have scheduled is the Ace Attorney trilogy, and I'm really excited because I love Ace Attorney. I just another series I fell in love with, and
I have the trilogy on Switch, but I've only finished the first one.
Oh,
they're pretty good games.
Yeah. No, you gotta keep going because I mean two's got its highs and lows. 3 is phenomenal. And the original trilogy is like peak Ace Attorney, in my opinion. So the other games are great, but like the original trilogy, that and the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, highly recommend.
Oh, that was like the newest one that came out, right? Last year, I think.
Yeah, and they're actually kind of like a prequel set in like the Victorian era, and you're playing the ancestor of Phoenix Wright, and actually they're really good. It's like probably like the closest to the quality of the original trilogy are those two games, and those are also available on Switch. I'm probably gonna do those like maybe next season or something after having done the trilogy. But yeah, with the Ace Attorney trilogy, we're also going to be collaborating with Collateral Cinema because it's our anniversary special. And with Collateral Cinema, every year we do Takashi Miike movies. So it just so happens that Takashi Miike has done an Ace Attorney film. So we are collaborating on that.
Oh, I think I've seen that. It's like a live action one, right?
I have not seen it yet, but yeah, it is a live
I think I've seen pictures of it. They do like Phoenix's hair like the same way and everything.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm actually really looking forward to it because, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the series. Speaking of Collateral Cinema, actually, this month, and I think we're going to be recording this just in a couple days here, so we'll have it out before the end of the month. But we are doing a collaboration on the Silent Hill franchise. So that's actually going to come out this month. On the Collateral Cinema side, we are doing the Silent Hill movie. On the Collateral Gaming side, our bonus round this month is going to be focused on Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill Homecoming, so the duality of Silent Hill.
Is the Homecoming like the bad one or?
Yeah. It's pretty much like, I think people like universally call it the bad one. I haven't played it all the way through yet, so
I've never played a Silent Hill game.
Really?
I mean, like I like Resident Evil, but I think anything that's like supernatural stuff, it just kind of freaks me out. I feel I'm a very squeamish. I have a very weak stomach for stuff like that.
Yeah, Silent Hill kind of forces you to confront your own demons or something. So, but yeah, I'm actually looking forward to doing that. So we have that coming out this month. Like I said, Ace Attorney next month, and then we'll be getting into the rest of the season. I believe some more. The next Game Lunch review that we have scheduled. Well, it's kind of contingent. If I'm able to get a PS5 and secure one and actually buy one soon, I would love to do Hogwarts Legacy when it comes out. Because
I think for the most part, you can probably, with some effort, you can find the PS5 in stores now, I think.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just a money issue for me personally.
Oh, I thought it was like an availability issue. Okay.
No, it's a money issue. But if I can get one, if I can buy one, I would love to talk about Hogwarts Legacy because I think it's actually coming out on next gen first. If not, maybe we'll talk about it later. So if that doesn't happen, then the next Game Lunch review that we have scheduled is actually Resident Evil 4 Remake. So I'm I'm really excited about that. And again, contingent on me getting a next gen console, I'd love to do the new Star Wars Jedi Survivor because I'm a huge fan of Fallen Order.
March is stacked. March is stacked for games.
It really is. But anyway, thank you once again for being on, Andrew. And
thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you to our listeners for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or feedback on your platform of choice. You can find Collateral Gaming wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. If there's somewhere where we're not, let us know so we can be on there. We also do have a Patreon where we have exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries. And we should be getting back into recording some of those soon because I have the equipment to do it again. Or at least my co-host from Collateral Cinema, Bo, does. Yeah, my capture card broke, so that kind of threw a wrench in that for a little while. But we got a capture card.
If you stream through PC, you don't have to worry about a capture card for the most part.
Yeah, that would be great if I had a gaming PC, but I don't.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually recording. I record on a Mac. And I edit on a Mac, and I love my Mac, but it's just not a gaming machine. I mean, it has the specs for it. It just doesn't have the software availability for it. And my Mac in particular is actually pretty old, so even if I wanted to dual boot on it, it wouldn't be up to spec now because it's a 2013 computer. But hey, it works. So. But all right. That being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I've been Andrew.
This has been Collateral Gaming. We are out.
Bye.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.